Just 2 weeks ago, a reliable source stated that the Canon EOS R1 would be announced on July the 17th, with a second source stating that the R5 Mark II would be announced at the same time. I was told that the price of the Canon EOS R1 was going to be around $64.99, and that was currently an internal price, whereas the R5 Mark II, well, it would sell for $39.99. So what does that mean, internal price for the Canon EOS R1? Well, that's what Canon's using internally based on the current exchange rate of the Japanese yen to the US dollar, and this was based on about a couple of months ago. So if the Japanese yen to the US dollar fluctuates significantly, then we can expect the price to either go up or the price to go down. And based on where we've seen the Japanese yen going recently, I don't really expect it to be going up. So I would expect a base price of the Canon EOS R1 to be $64.99. But Andrea Pizzini of Sony Alpha Rumors and the YouTube channel by the same name has come forward with additional information on specs, pricing, and dates. Does Andrea's information validate what we stated a month ago? What new information does Andrea offer? But before we get to the details, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, helps this channel grow, and keeps you up to date on the latest camera coverage. So, does Andrea's information validate what we put out back in May, back in June about specs and pricing and availability for the Canon EOS R1 and the EOS R5 Mark II? And what new information does Andrea have on these cameras? Well, first, let's tackle the announcement date of the Canon EOS R1 and the R5 Mark II. Andrea Pizzini had this to say.
Will be announced around July the 17th, so this is a trusted source. I'm 100% sure this is true.
Around July the 17th. Well, I can confirm from multiple known and trusted sources that the announcement is going to take place on July the 17th. And I was the first to state this. I'm sticking by that. So why is Sony Alpha Rumors, Andrea Pizzini, saying around and it's coming from a trusted source? Well, for the very simple reason is we don't yet know the time or the time zone. So for example, if Canon Japan goes ahead and makes the announcement on July the 17th, depending on what time that happens on July the 17th, that could be 11 p.m. on July the 16th here in North America. It could be midnight, it could be earlier, it really depends. But if Canon USA goes ahead and announces it at 10 o'clock in the morning on July the 17th, well then it's July the 17th for most people. It's still July the 17th in Japan. It's July the 17th in Europe. And Canon Rumors agrees with this time frame, although they're a little less specific. We now expect the Canon EOS R1 to be officially announced around sometime mid-July alongside the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. And Canon Rumors later came out and said the third week of July, which July the 17th is the third week. And unlike Nikon, Canon doesn't release cameras on a Monday, Friday, or even on the weekend. So the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, July the 16th, 17th, and 18th. And depending on time zone, I would expect it to fall sometime on July the 16th or July the 17th here in terms of, well, North America on the Eastern time zone, Eastern Daylight Time, so New York and Toronto time. And I just get this feeling, no one's told me this, but if it's going to be Canon USA, I would expect a 10 a.m. announcement time. Now, if it's Canon Japan, I wouldn't be surprised if we get an 11 p.m. or midnight announcement. That means it could be coming Monday in Japan, and then if it comes at midnight, that would actually tick over from Monday into Tuesday. So as soon as I know the exact time and the time zone, I'll be sure to let you know. So both cameras will be announced on July the 17th, and remember, you heard it here first. So what about price? Well, as I mentioned in the intro, the Canon EOS R5 is going to be priced at $39.99, and the R1 has an internal price, a Canon internal price of $64.99, which we really don't expect to change in the announcement that we're getting in 2 weeks. So let's focus on a couple of things here. Where did I get this information from? Well, I got this information from a source, and that has proven to be a trusted and not only trusted, but has gotten things right. So I believe this source, and this was on May the 25th. Then about 5 days later, Canon Rumors confirmed the pricing of the R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R1. So what does Andrea Pizzini have to say about the specifications covered by both this channel and Canon Rumors? Well, Canon Rumors was the first to state that the Canon EOS R5 Mark II would indeed have a 45 megapixel sensor. But they did initially state on March the 6th that it would have a backside illuminated sensor. Shortly after that, we were able to confirm that the Canon EOS R5 Mark II does indeed have a stacked full-frame sensor with a resolution of 45 megapixels. But the source went further, stating that the resolution of the sensor would also be part of a whole new design, a whole new architecture. This wouldn't just be a minor update. And what we're sensing is that it's going to have a lot of new technology supporting a new autofocus system, and that's pretty exciting. Canon Rumors agrees and goes further, stating that it's going to have both a mechanical and electronic shutter, with 12 frames per second mechanical and 30 frames per second electronic. It will be capable of 8K video up to 60 frames per second, which is likely to be assumed to be RAW, as the R5 Mark I can do 8K up to 30 frames per second RAW. But the R5 Mark II is supposed to have a new passive cooling system. And if we take a look at Canon patents, JP 2023 127.217, JP 2023 1271.60, and JP 2023 1705.99, we can see how Canon's designed a new cooling system with heat pipes to remove heat from the internal components without compromising weather sealing. And this new technology is also integrated with a new battery grip. Instead of a passive cooling system, this blueprint diagram indicates that there's a fan in this system, which would make it an active cooling system. The R5 Mark II will also have an improved EVF. We don't know the resolution. We don't know if it's going to reach up to 9.44 million dots that we see in a lot of Sony cameras. The current R5 Mark I supports an EVF resolution of I believe, 5.76 million dots. We don't know at this point about the HDMI port. We don't know if it's going to be full-size, mini, or micro. I really hope that Canon has listened to us, because it really doesn't cost them anything to do this, maybe then a penny, and we want full size, guys. Full size, please. But in terms of storage, now some people are going to be upset about this. The Canon EOS R5 Mark II, like the Mark I, is going to have a CF Express Type B card slot. And it's also going to have that UHS 2 card slot capable of supporting V90 SD cards. A lot of people were hoping for dual CF Express Type B card slots, and I understand that frustration, but the R3, which came out a few years later for a price of $59.99, which can now be had for $39.99, well, it has the same card slots as the R5, the Mark I, with one CF Express Type B and one UHS 2 card slot. So I really didn't expect them to offer dual. It would be nice, but it's certainly not something that I expected. However, what we've heard is that the R1 will have dual CF Express Type B card slots, but instead of Gen 3, which is what is currently supported in the R5 and the R3, and the 1DX Mark III, it's going to support Gen 4. And that is significant because Gen 4 has twice the PCIe lanes, and theoretically, it's supposed to support twice the speed. We don't have a lot of Gen 4 CF Express Type B card slots on the marketplace at this point, not Gen 4, although there is one by ProGrade, and it has a sustained write speed of around 3 gigabytes per second, which is pretty fast. However, I wouldn't get too excited by these by Gen 4. If the R5 Mark II can do 8K 60, let's assume it can do 8K up to 120 frames per second. Let's just assume that for a moment. That can easily be handled by Gen 3. It only takes, if we look at the Red V Raptor, it can do 8K 120, and it only requires 850 megabytes per second. And the fastest CF Express Type B consistent sustained write speed, it's around 1.48 gigabytes per second. So Gen 3 is more than fast enough, although if you have the right system, you'll be able to get your content off a lot quicker, so you have that improved read speed as well. But according to Andrea Pizzini, the R5 Mark II isn't going to be able to do 8K 60. That's right. That would mean 8K 30 RAW would be the top frame rate and resolution for shooting video on the R5 Mark II. Or is it? Let's have a listen to what Andrea said.
Capture and no 8K 60p. So that's the one spec that is in conflict with CanonRumors.com, where they say there is 8K 60p with caveats. That's what they write. My source said it has no 60p. But maybe something got lost in translation here, or 8K 60p will come later with a firmware update, and we will only kick off with 8K 30p. But anyway, those are 99% correct specs of the R5 II that will be announced.
So Andre is walking that back a little bit. He's not 100% sure if it's going to do 8K 60 or not, or anything else in terms of video resolutions and frame rates. And despite the R1 being limited to 24 megapixels, and despite the R5 Mark II not supporting dual CF Express Type B card slots, I can guarantee you that there's going to be huge demand for these cameras. One of my sources came out and said that the R5 Mark II, if you're looking at the R5 and the R5C right now, it's going to be pretty easy to make this decision. The R5 Mark II is going to be a wow camera. It's going to have a lot more video-centric features. And I can tell you that both of these two cameras, once they're announced, once they're available for pre-order, and based on what we've seen with Canon in the past, once they make an announcement, the pre-order is available either at the start of the video, or at the start of their presentation, or sometime during or at the very end. And that's why I have the smart pre-order links down below for the Canon EOS R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R1. We actually have the pre-order pages up for the R1 at Adorama and B&H, although it just has that notify me right now instead of the actual pre-order. So, and Canon USA has already come out and teased that the R1 is coming soon. So if you want to beat the rush, if you want to get further up in that queue, go ahead and copy down these pre-order links that I have in the description down below. They won't be effective right now, but they will function once the embargo is lifted and you'll be able to pre-order. And what this should help you do is get a little higher into the queue so you can get your camera before anybody else. All you have to do is take a look at this guy here. This is the Canon RF 200 to 800 millimeter. It was announced on November the 2nd last year. It started shipping on December the 14th, and I got mine the very first day. However, there are people that ordered on that day that still don't have this lens. That's hard to believe. We're in July now, the 7th month of the year. That's 8 months after the announcement. 8 long months. And and here's the thing. I'm a big proponent of taking your time to make the right decision. But if you know if you're pretty confident that you're going to get these cameras, or you need a camera right away and you want it to be one of the latest and greatest, then at least go ahead and pre-order. Pay attention to that shipping date, and if you, after watching a bunch of the reviews, you think, this isn't for me, you can always go ahead and cancel your pre-order, and it doesn't cost you anything. But if you watch the reviews and say, oh, I wish I had pre-ordered it, and now you know you're going to have to wait at least several months to get it, or pay a rather huge premium, well, if you've gone ahead and pre-ordered it, you don't have to worry about that. So that's why I recommend that. And I want to say a big thanks to everybody watching to the end of this video. It's very much appreciated. And even though I'm starting to lose my voice right now, I do need to be transparent and clear. If you do use any of the pre-order links in the description down below, or my affiliate links, there is a small commission that I get back. You don't have to click on any special forms. You don't have to put in any special codes. It takes you directly to the page where you can pre-order directly or order directly from Adorama and B&H. And right now, there are a bunch of incredible sales on. There's inventory clearing events on the Canon EOS R5 at $29.99. The Canon EOS R3 is on sale. The 1DX Mark III is finally on sale. A huge discount there as well. But we see it on Nikon. We see it with the Nikon Z8, the Nikon Z9. Now, as far as the Canon EOS R7 Mark II, I just hear a lot of people wishing and wanting, and I would really like to see that camera. I think the R7 Mark I was part the way there, but it's definitely in need of a Mark II. And we're going to start getting up into that time frame where we're going to get some Sony announcements. We're going to get some more Nikon announcements, like the Nikon Z7 Mark III. So it's a very exciting time. Again, a big thanks for watching to the very end of the video. I very much appreciate it. If you want to stay up to date, don't forget to subscribe and choose all notifications, or go ahead and follow me on X. But that's it for now. Cheers, have yourself a great day, and don't be surprised if we hear from each other really soon. And if you're in the United States, I hope you had a great Independence Day and the weather was great. We had our Dominion Day on July the 1st, and it was the best weather in years, best weather in 15 years. But unfortunately, my son was sick, so we were stuck at home. Cheers, have yourself a great day, and we'll see you again soon.